mushroom risotto. So I got chicken stock getting hot because you want to make sure that all aspects of the dish are hot when we're doing it, or it's going to take too long to cook. This is a 20-minute pickup always. You know, whether we're doing it in a restaurant or at home, it always takes about 20 minutes. These are mushrooms that I've already pre-cooked. I literally just threw a little bit of olive oil in a pan, a touch of garlic, and then just seared literally the crap out of them until they have that really nice texture to it. And then the rest of the ingredients pretty similar, so and pretty easy. So you have a little bit of herbs. So we have some sage, rosemary, a little bit of thyme. Then I have some shallots, and then literally I use Marsala wine for this because I really like the flavor of Marsala wine in a risotto. And then some butter and Parmesan cheese. So it's very, very simple. So we're gonna start with cutting our shallots. So same way that we basically cut everything else that we do, nice thin slices like that. Don't do what I just did and cut all the way through. And then you're gonna come sideways just like this. And then it's a slice, not a chop. Just like that. All right, and then we do it with all the shallots. So same thing, slice downward, come through, and then it's a slice, not a chop. You could use onion if you want. I just really like the sweetness from the shallot, but onions are fine as well. You don't really have to, you don't have to choose, it's either one. Same thing with this guy. Come across and then slice. Remember, don't chop. You don't want to leave the oil from the onion on the cutting board. You want to keep it in the onion because we're going to sweat that part out in the oil after. All right, so now you're going to take that, you're going to move that over because we're going to get all of our stuff prepped, and then we're going to move into the cooking process. So now we're going to chop all of our herbs. All right, so because I'm going to chop them till literally it's you know, tiny, I'm going to take all this and I'm just going to mix it all together. I'm gonna move this over and then we're gonna give it a chop, all right? You don't have to go too fine because you want the texture of some of these herbs in there. And these go in the oil in the beginning because hard herbs always go in the oil in the beginning, not in the end. All right, just like that. We're gonna give it a turn, give it a nice little slice again. Just like that, so it's a little bit smaller. All right, just like that. Now we're gonna start cooking. So, good amount of olive oil, pan cold to start. Good amount of olive oil in here. About, I don't know, maybe a quarter of a cup. And then from here, you're gonna add your shallots first, okay? And we're gonna sweat our shallots. We're not gonna try to caramelize them, so that's why we're starting with cold oil in a cold pan. All right, get that on. So now, as that's in there, we're gonna add a little bit of salt to it. It's the first part of the seasoning process because we salt as we go. All right, and you're gonna literally let this sweat in your pan and you're gonna move it around. I have my heat on high because I wanna get this oil hot now. All right, and as that's going, I got all my chicken stock. My chicken stock's hot because when we start adding this over into it, you want to make sure that it's hot the entire time. Because if you add cold, then it's going to stop the cooking process every single time and then restart up, and that's not what we're looking for. We want to make sure that it's a continuous process of cooking. So for these shallots, we're basically just sweating them down. We want to make sure that we can see through them. Create a translucent shallot. We're gonna add the herbs now. And you wanna get all of that flavor into your oil. All we're doing right now is flavoring all that oil. It's already cooking, you can see it happening. I'm gonna take this for about another 2 minutes maybe at the most. We're gonna make sure we don't caramelize any of these shallots. You just wanna get it translucent. Turn the heat down a little bit. Let it do its thing. While that's working, we're gonna get our risotto. So normally I like to use arborio. Today we're gonna use carnaroli. So this, you can tell for arborio rice is a touch chubbier or a touch fatter. This is a little bit thinner. And these kind of have a little bit of a different look and texture to it. They're more, what's the word I'm looking for? Not as, yeah, whatever. It's not as, everyone doesn't look exactly the same. So we're gonna go right in with the rice now. So we're gonna put a little bit in here. We're not going with a lot because a little bit goes a long way with these. All right, so do about a nice handful of this. Nice handful and a half is all we need. We don't need more than that. All right, now what you're trying to do is do the same exact thing that we did with the shallots, right? So we want to toast the risotto itself. So you want to completely cover it with the oil. All right, and then you can start toasting it. And you're gonna look, when you get a little closer to it, you're gonna see that some of the rice kernels, the outside already started to get a little translucent where the inside is white, and that's what you're looking for. You want to lightly toast this. So a lot of people do their risotto a little bit differently. Normally this process right here is always the same. A lot of people finish their risotto differently. When I worked in New York City, my chef used to finish his risotto with an egg yolk, and that helped thicken it up. A couple other recipes I have, I finished with mascarpone. Today it's literally just gonna be butter and Parmesan cheese and nothing else. All right. I'm gonna give that another second or two. Lower the heat just a touch because we're not trying to caramelize them, we're just trying to toast. So you could already see it happening. The outside of the kernels are getting really, really translucent and the inside's still white, and then we're gonna cook it by adding liquid to it. All right, so that's good. And now we're gonna add the alcohol. So a lot of people use white wine. I like Marsala. I like to have a really deep color with my risotto, so I start with some Marsala. And plus Marsala and mushrooms go really well together. And I'm out of fire. All right. Marsala in. And then light it. So now you're just trying to cook all of that alcohol out, and all you want is the sweetness from the Marsala. And then every time we add liquid, we basically cook it to dry, all right? So you get all that fire gone. And then we're gonna cook this down. As you're cooking this down, it's gonna continue to get even sweeter, all right? And as you're doing this, you're gonna start stirring your risotto, because what's gonna happen is you're gonna sit here and you're gonna start to pull all that starch out of the rice itself, and it's gonna create a nice thickness to your risotto. And you see how quickly it goes, like it's already been reduced, and you can see there's no liquid at the bottom. Give that another second. And then you start incorporating your chicken stock, right? So we do 2 ladles at a time. And because it's already hot, the process continues to cook, and we don't have to stop and wait for it to heat back up. It's just still going the entire time. I normally like to use a wooden spoon. I don't have one. My last one broke, and I didn't have time to grab one today, so we're gonna use a rubber spatula. But with wooden spoons, you could really like beat up the rice kernel against the side of the saute pan, so it's supposed to be better for it. And as it's doing it, I'm stirring the entire time. So now we seasoned earlier on when we put in the shallots. We're gonna season just a touch again. We season as we go. You can always add, you can't take away the salt. It's like cooking 101. The Marsala really smells good. Keep stirring. You can already see it reducing, and you're gonna see it's gonna change color. It's gonna get super thick. It's gonna be starchy. It's gonna be really, really good. I wait normally in the beginning when I'm doing this video, I'll sear the mushrooms ahead of time, or like I'll sear it first, then I'll start doing this. But since I have the mushrooms already cooked off, I'm gonna add the mushrooms in at the end instead of in the beginning. I don't want to overcook these mushrooms. I want to make sure that they still have a little chew and a bite to it. The last thing you want is just mushy mushrooms. Doesn't make any sense. continuously stirring this. So again, this is one of those dishes that's an absolute labor of love. It takes time. It takes a lot to do these the right way. So don't be discouraged. You know, it took me a long time to get risotto correct. But over time, you'll get better at this. And it's not one of those things that's difficult. It's just time consuming. So you'll see when you go to a restaurant, which there's not many restaurants in Atlanta for sure that serve risotto on their menu. It's because it does take time to do this. And the only way to do this the right way is to do it to order, which means it's going to take 20 to 25 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes, depending on how busy the restaurant is, to be able to get this out to you guys. Continue to stir. It's definitely a good time if it wasn't 10:30 in the morning to be drinking some alcohol while we do this. So you guys have asked for a lot of videos since we've started this, and this is basically what we're going to do. So we're going to try to tackle that list that you guys have given me over time. You know, we've already done a bunch for you guys, and we're going to continue to do them. So keep the recommendations coming, because you know these are fun and they're fun for me to do. And it's still early in the morning where there's not much staff in here, so nobody can be really loud, and I can get a lot of this stuff done for you guys. So all right, so this is starting to reduce, and you can see as I'm pulling back that there's less and less liquid in here. So we're gonna add a little bit more liquid in a second. We're gonna cook that down just a little bit more. And you can already see it thickening up. I mean, it's pretty simple, and the color's changed a lot. There's still a decent amount of fat in here. I like the extra virgin olive oil in there, so that's why I started with a good amount of fat. Plus, you need it all in there so you can toast the kernels of our carnaroli rice. I'm gonna go with one ladle this time, because we don't need a second one yet. Same thing, just keep stirring. Don't walk away, because you don't want it to burn. Literally sit here and just do your thing, just keep stirring. Hand on hip, just like this, like an old school grandpa. It's a really great look. It's normally the look of disappointment that I used to get as a kid, so, but I'm not disappointed in my risotto right now. It looks really good. May have to switch arms because the process takes time. My arm starts to hurt. We're gonna give it a little taste, see where we're at. Kind of just looking, I know that the risotto's not done. I'm just looking for flavor, texture, all that stuff. I want to see where we're at, so. Seasoning's actually pretty good, so we're not gonna add any more salt right now. That's good. A ladle. So one of the most things that people do wrong with risotto is they think that you need to cook this a lot, right? And cook all the starch out. That's not the thing. You want to leave your rice al dente. Like anything else, it's easier for you to digest. When you have all that mush and all that starch comes out, it actually makes your body, it gives your body a harder time to digest instead of an easier time. So you actually want to make sure that it's got a little bite into it when it's done. And then the other thing is you got to make sure there's also enough liquid in here that when I plate this, it doesn't stand up straight and needs to fall. All right, it's the most important part of the risotto. Anywhere you go to these restaurants and they give you a risotto and it's literally a big thing of glob on your plate, that's done incorrectly. Your arm really does start to hurt. Yeah. Now I'm trying to just do wrist action instead of whole arm action. Still got the same hand, hip, perfect look when you're making risotto. Also though, when you're at home, it's a little bit higher. This is a little bit lower, so make sure you have a nice stance. Don't lock your knees, you might pass out like they say which happens at weddings. All right, keep stirring. And we're gonna cook that down, right? So this is still, needs to reduce quite a bit because there's still a lot of liquid in here. Wait a sec. If you walk away from this right now and you come back, and when you go like this, let's say that all this is burnt to the bottom, you literally have to toss it and start all over again. So you want to make sure that you don't, no bathroom breaks, no nothing. The only thing that your left hand should be doing at this point is drinking alcohol, and not at 10:30 in the morning. I mean, unless you want to, and that's on you. You got to do 10 o'clock in the morning. All right, another ladle. Check done this again. Plus it's good and I really want to eat it. Like another 5 minutes, it's ready. All right, so now we're gonna finish this. So as we finish it, we turn off the heat. As you can tell as I pull it apart that it's super reduced, it's very caramelized, that's what you're looking for. We're gonna go with the very small amount of chicken stock to finish this off. All right, now we'll add our mushrooms. And I like a lot of mushrooms in. Obviously it's a mushroom risotto, so I like a lot of mushrooms in here. We'll put a decent amount. And then the finishing part, right? So parm, again, a good amount of Parmesan cheese. Nice tablespoon of butter. And then you're basically working this all in to the risotto itself, right? So you're gonna keep mixing this around. So we've already creamed it, all that starch is already out, right? Now we're just gonna get all this mixed together. And then we're gonna see, like for me, this is a touch thick and we're gonna add a little bit more liquid when the time comes, but I wanna melt that butter first, see where we're at after that. This is all done off the heat. There's no heat right now. Because if I turn this heat on right now, this butter will break the sauce because you're heating up the fats too fast. But instead, we're emulsifying into the sauce. And you can already see, you can see the kernels, how fat the kernels got because we incorporated all that liquid into there. So we're gonna turn this guy off. We're gonna do the smallest little amount of chicken stock in here. You don't need a lot. Basically just trying to thin this out a little bit. Just like that. And then to finish, because we want this thing to have some shine and a nice amount of earthiness, you put some extra virgin olive oil in there. And then stir that all together and you can see it's loose, right? That's how a risotto should look. All right, let's see. How does this taste? All right, so you can see it's loose as you put it on the plate. It runs instead of it being, sitting in the middle of the plate. Just like that. Then you're gonna give it a light tap on the bottom. And then to finish, a little bit more parm. Just like that. Super simple. Mushroom risotto.